Hi, my name is Ray Brown from Innovational Health, and today I'm going to talk to you about one of the most important videos that I'm ever going to do, and that is a video on water purity, this video. You know, I wasn't always the cleanest guy in the world, and I wasn't always the healthiest guy. In truth, I was a fast foodaholic, and I got cancer probably because of that. But there are many, many ways to get cancer and other diseases, and a lot of them is from drinking water. And why would that be? Well, predominantly that would be because water is the majority of your body. In fact, nothing can live without water. And so what we need to find, and what Innovational Health is all about, is finding the best sources of water. Well, you say, but the water that I get comes from either a bottle or from my tap. How can I make that better? Well, let's just talk about that. First of all, let's talk about bottled water, because most people think that's the answer. Unfortunately, most bottled water, over 99% of it, comes in plastics. Plastics that have been approved by the government through negotiation with the three big water companies. Who are the three big water companies? You're probably pretty familiar with them. Coke, Pepsi, and Nestle. That's true. That's who controls your water supply. So let's talk about, first of all, the regular type of bottled water that you see everybody drinking. This is Aquafina. It's either Pepsi, Coke, or Nestle, but it doesn't really matter. It could be any of the other Poland Springs. The bottles will look like this, and you think they're healthy. Well, sometimes they are. But if you're talking about the summer, and I live in Las Vegas, the chances are very good that these are extremely unhealthy. Why? Because you're, in all probability, drinking petrochemicals. How could that be? Well, very simply. The petrochemical industry is what makes the bottle. Once the bottle is exposed to temperatures about 118 degrees, the petrochemicals leach into the water. So that's why I say you're drinking petrochemicals with your water. In fact, any bottled water that's not glass and it's been exposed to 118 degrees or greater, it's probably less safe than your tap water. In the summer, in Las Vegas, it doesn't have to get to 118 degrees for the contents inside of this to be 118 degrees. What do I mean? Well, what about when you put this in your car? What about when this was transported in a truck to either your neighborhood food store or to the machine you got this out of? That truck is not refrigerated. And in fact, tests have shown that in semi-trailer trucks, the temperatures can get to be 180 degrees. That's way over the threshold. The other thing is that it sits in warehouses most likely that are not air conditioned, and in fact, again, exceed well above the 118 degree temperature. So in all likelihood, if this is not winter, if this is sometime in the heat of summer, you are drinking petrochemicals. And don't expect that other types of bottles will give you any more relief from these cancer-causing ingredients. No, this carton, which is designed for milk is, yes, is safer. However, again, it will break down given a higher temperature. And a big problem with these type is that people will refill them even with milk. This is a one-time use container, and the fact is the more you use it, the more chemicals will leach into the water or whatever you have in there. Of course, water is the best source that you can drink, the best element that you can drink, and the fact is that anything else you put into your body from a plastic container is even more health dangerous than the water that's contaminated. And that also goes for those blue jugs that you put on top of a machine. They still have carcinogens in them, and once again we see breakdowns in that even over time. And that's the problem, is these, if there were one-time use, that would be fine, but these are used over and over again. And the manufacturers, I'm sure you have a local manufacturer in your area that puts the water in the bottle. They use a very high steam process. And this steaming process, this cleaning process, the solvents they use actually help to break down the chemicals and actually encourage leaching into your water. There's been many tests that actually will back up what that statement is. In fact, on August 14th, which is a Monday, I will be releasing a blog in association with this video. And if you go to innovationalhealth.com, you can read the blog, see the statistics, and more importantly, get other resources so that you can really make a decision for yourself about what's the healthiest path for you. Now, let's talk about what are some good ways to drink water and what are the containers. Okay, let's first of all start with containers. Well, when you're pouring water from your whatever your purest source is, it should be into a bottle that looks like this. And this is glass. Now, there are actually three types of safe drinking containers: glass, ceramics, and as long as it's coated with a non-carcinogenic finish, and also metal, which I'll show you in just a second. These plastics that are the lids are unfortunately and unavoidable. However, they should be PBA free like this one. If you really wanted to get the best, a cork bottle, a cork for the top of this would actually be the best. Another way to drink, especially when you're outside hiking or working out, is to drink out of one of these. This happens to be a Camelback, which I bought at the Container Store. Again, it has a PBA-free lid. It's very hard to have a total metal container or a total glass container. Can be done, but it's, as far as practicality, we do encounter some issues. So the PBA free, although not 100%, it's very close to 100%, and so this is what we would recommend. And of course, you have your bottle with the PBA cap on it, or your glass, or even a ceramic pitcher should have some way to cap the container itself. So those are the ways that we can talk about containers. Plastic is bad. We should try to remove as much plastic out of our lives as we can. And the reason? Simply, plastic is usually made out of chemicals. In fact, always made out of chemicals. And the fact is chemicals are carcinogenic. Now, let's talk about water sources. First of all, let's talk about the water source that comes out of your tap, okay? And what I'm showing you is something that's available to almost everybody in a major metropolitan area, and that's the water quality test results for your city. Now, I'm going to use the Las Vegas Valley water test results, and I just want to give you some inclination as to what might be in your water even after it's treated and what is coming through your faucet. You can easily see it. Now, of course, the EPA limit is set through politicians actually negotiating with water standards. The fact is that nothing can be eliminated entirely. What we're looking for in standards is that 0.99999 is the standard. In other words, it's such an infinitesimally small number that the carcinogen is not a big deal. But let me just name some things that are commonly in the water, even here in Las Vegas. For instance, arsenic. Arsenic is found almost everywhere in the United States and Canada. And so it is important to have a good filtration system that filters out arsenic. Arsenic, in fact, is found in the Las Vegas Valley water at your water source, at your faucet. Cyanide. Can you believe that? There are parts of the Las Vegas Valley that don't have any cyanide, but believe it or not, there is one treatment facility that does have cyanide in the water. However, it is only 1/100th or 1% of the EPA's minimum level. So that's actually a very good thing. But the fact that there's cyanide allowed in the water at all, to me, is a big red flag, and I hope it is to you too. Now, the big thing that has been in dispute for many years is fluoride. Fluoride, according to dental surveys, is good for your teeth. And so, almost all water companies have been sold on the idea by dental associations of putting fluoride in the water, and that is good for your teeth. What it's bad for is your health. So we have this problem of what is better, your teeth being healthy or your body being healthy. This is a conundrum, and only you can answer that actually. But there are ways that you can take fluoride out of the water. And unfortunately, most of the water here in Las Vegas is clean until they treat it with, you guessed it, fluoride. Another way that they treat the water is through putting in chlorine. Now, we have swimming pools. And anyone that's ever worked around a swimming pool knows that when you have chlorine and are using it to disinfect your swimming pool, that in fact, you better be wearing gloves and you better not breathe this stuff in because it's toxic. One time when I was working on our swimming pool, I literally breathed it in and had chlorine poisoning, and literally this put me out for about a 48 48-hour period, I had to go to the doctor, get some shots, all that good stuff. Of course, we know about lead. Lead is in the system. It is naturally occurring. Things that are natural, of course, if we go back to cyanide and arsenic, those are natural. Problem is they're really not good for you. Lead in Las Vegas is in the water. It does not meet the EPA goals, but it's close. It's very, very, very close to meeting the EPA goals. The problem is, a lot of times EPA goals can be waived, and this is what happened in Flint. And ultimately it got so bad that fraud was actually committed, and erroneous reports were submitted by the public servants who ran the water company. This is a problem that can happen. Radon can also be in the water. Just the stuff that comes out through the ground. Now, how can this happen? A lot of times that has to do with slab leaks, and radon seeps through and gets into the pipes in your home. And we'll actually talk about that further. Uranium, believe it or not, uranium can be in the soil, and it is here in Las Vegas as well. And I could go on and on and on. What my point is please get the water quality test results for your area. It's on the internet. And the reality is this will help you in picking a filter, because the idea would be for the minimal results, you want to be able to counter what is in your water. Now, what's not in there is there are no EPA guidelines for, and they hope that this is just treated and affected by the chlorine that's put in, the chlorine poison that's put in your water. And the fact is the biggest problem that we have is pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals will get into the water source. And the problem is they're outside of very expensive ultraviolet equipment and really good processing equipment like we have in higher end filters. It's not practical for a city municipality to filter out all of the pharmaceuticals. So what does that mean? That means that in all probability you're drinking a lot of pharmaceuticals if you're not getting them filtered out. And only the most expensive of the filtration systems can handle pharmaceuticals. And this is a huge problem, as you've seen in the news, and it's only getting worse. Men, the testosterone level of men has gone down over time, and in fact in June of 2017 our fertility rate, and part of that is the low testosterone, was the lowest ever recorded in history. Okay, so does that mean that everything is on the shoulders of water and what we drink? No, not necessarily. But if you want to keep your family as clean as possible, then the thought is to get the best water filtration system that you can afford. Now, does this mean that you have to go out and get a whole house water system? No, in fact, I would discourage anyone from getting a whole house water system. Why? Because the treatment is at the source where the water comes into your house. The problem is your pipes, either the plastic or metal pipes that carry the water to your outlets, your sinks, they are not treated, and over time they will decompose. And where does the decomposition go? Well, it goes into the water. And who drinks that? Well, you do. The human body is the ultimate filtration system for anything that's not filtered prior to the time that it goes into your lips. And this is a very sad fact. So I would discourage anyone from getting a whole house water system. So now we have to say, well, what is the best way? And the best way is where you can filter the water exactly at the point of use, which means when it comes out of your faucet. Now there's two ways this can be done. One is the water can be poured into a pitcher which has a filtration system in the pitcher. There's a company called Burpee, there's Brita, Pure, P-U-R, and there's many different water systems like that. How do you compare water systems? Well, number one is there is an organization called the NSF, and you can go to nsf.org to see which water filtration systems are best at taking out chemicals out of the water. And this, of course, includes pharmaceuticals. Now, there is another problem. If it doesn't show up on the NSF system, there are various manufacturers, and I will talk to you about one in particular, which is very popular with health-conscious people, and that is Burpee, that claims that they do meet all these standards. And if it's true what they say, this would be very good. However, they do not have third-party testing, and they only have their own testing primarily. And the fact is that we don't know. We don't really know how effective it is. The analogy would be a car. A car is tested for crash worthiness by the National Traffic Safety Foundation, okay? But what if you didn't have to do that? It is compulsory, by the way, that all cars must meet certain standards. And then you get ratings, A, B, C, and the consumer 4-star crash rating, for instance. You would go, wow, that's very good. And that's true, it is very good. Why? Because the National Traffic Safety Foundation says so, and they've tested this to be so. However, what if the car manufacturers didn't have to do that, and they could say, yes, our car is 5-star or 3-star, 4. You know, they're just going to do the tests, and if there's really no standard and there's no independent testing, then they pretty much can say whatever they want. Okay. There is another way that we can get our water at the source, and that is where you've got an element that sits on the faucet or directly below the sink, and where it's spliced into the it's called under the counter, where it's spliced into a water line. Well, this is really good, a really good system. In fact, the best systems are this type, and unfortunately they're the most expensive. Although they're very much less, they're a fraction of what whole house systems can be. And remember, I don't think this is the best way. Even if they were less expensive, I would not ever recommend a whole house system. So let's take a look then at the different types of systems. I have one that I'm going to show you, which I believe is the absolute best, and I'll basically talk about the others as we go on. Well, welcome to my kitchen. I want to introduce you to one of the candidates for the absolute best water system. There really are two. This is called a MultiPure. It is the top of the line of the MultiPure line, and I would consider their entire line to be good, but this one is the absolute best, state-of-the-art water filtration system, totally tested by the NSF to the highest standards. It will eliminate everything that we've talked about, many things we haven't talked about, but most importantly, it will eliminate pharmaceuticals, chlorine, fluoride, all of the main things that we're worried about. Lead, obviously. This is interesting because part of it uses high technology. The types of high technology that are available, not necessarily in this one, but are available, are super carbon filtration systems, which is in this one. Ultraviolet radiation, which is non-harmful radiation, which is in another system that I will mention. And then there will be lasers. Now, currently I don't know of any systems on the commercial market for a home that use lasers. But the thing is that this particular one uses some high-tech features that are very important. And that is, this actually goes onto your internet network. And it phones home, just like ET did. And why would that be important? Well, one of the keys of a good filtration system, and this almost applies also to your coffee filtration, your coffee maker, is that you must keep it clean. If you don't keep it clean, then eventually it will be no better than just drinking out of the tap. So it's essential for you to keep this clean. And I don't necessarily mean the outside. I mean what is on the inside must be cleaned. And of course, these hoses must be very clean because that is where the ultimate product, the final purification process exits the water in the back and then will go into the system and then come out right below your nozzle. And I'll show you the working end of that and how this works. When I say it hooks up to the internet, you will get email messages from the company telling you, A, how much water you've used, B, when it's time for you to change the water filter. Very, very important. And also when it's time to maintain the system and make sure that it's clean. I cannot explain enough how important that this is. Now, let's talk about costs. And a minimum cost for a very good water filtration system is $250. I'm going to put that out there as an estimate. I don't recall anything under $250 being good for all of the municipalities in which it might encounter. Again, if you want to minimize your expense, get a water test from your municipality and then go from there picking your water filtration system. This one is called, of course, the MultiPure AquaPure and AquaLux. MultiPure AquaLux. And the fact is that this unit probably is at the top end, in fact is at the top end, and it costs about $1,000. A filter for this, which is the most advanced charcoal filter that you can buy, and of course it uses other methods, secondary and tertiary methods of cleaning the water after it leaves the charcoal filter, is about $150, and you will get 500 gallons of drinking water. Now, you don't use this for everyday tasks or for when you were boiling water, but for drinking water, water that goes into your coffee pot, water that goes into your drinking glasses and pitchers. This is what this is used for. And that you'll get 500 gallons of water for every $150 filter. You can do the math on that. That would tell you how much. It's cheaper than buying the plastic jugs at Walmart even, but the reality is it's way, way, way safer and more pure water than that. There is a secondary model that is almost as good. In fact, I would put it on the same level. It's from the Amway company, and it is also $1,000. So how you would get these, and I do have no financial interest in either company, I need to disclose that. I would go to MultiPure.com, and if you wanted to look at their entire line, which I do recommend, or you would go to your friend that might be in the Amway business and ask him about what's the best price that he could give you on purchasing, again, their top of the line. I only recommend the top of the line $1,000 Amway water purifier. And that's really, really important to remember. Aside of that, if you're going to go below $1,000, I would recommend the smaller and less expensive MultiPure models. But for myself and my family, I will not, I've had cancer, I will not take that chance. I only want the best, and I hope that's where your thinking is as well. Okay, well, now what we're looking at is the business end, where the water, actually your purest water, will come out. And that is, the faucet has a special adapter. Here's where the hoses directly come from. Now, you can have this either on the counter or under the sink. The problem with the under the sink is, remember that the longer the cord, the longer distance you have to travel, the more of a chance you're taking about impurities getting into your water. So be aware that you need to have about the same length as you do on your under the counter as in the one that sits on the counter. Okay? So in principle, they work the same. So let me show you how this works. There's basically two different types of water now that you're going to have. You have your regular tap water, which is just from turning it on. It has its own regular aerator, but as the water passes through this, then this is, and it currently it's just sitting inactive, so we have this purifying the water. And how we do that is a very simple mechanism, just by pushing this in. And now we get a very slow stream. But if we turn this on, now we've got absolutely as pure as we can get water. Okay, and this is what you would fill up your water pitchers, your coffee urns. This is what you would use. This is absolutely pure water. And this is the best that you can buy. And you just, to use it again for dishes or for other cleaning tasks, you would just push this again in this position Notice how easily this rotates. Will run. It's just how the whole thing is designed. So it's very, very good system. I don't know if you noticed, but while this was running, the lights lit up here and they were green, which meant that this water was fine. If this would turn yellow up here, then that tells us that the water is still fine, but either maintenance or a water filter is about to be needed to be changed. So maintenance either has to be done soon or water filter has to be done soon. If it turns red, you need to stop using this machine. Why? Because the filter is now clogged with bacteria and the different types of things that you wanted to get rid of it. And so now you have to get another filter. The good thing about the process that we were talking about before is before it turns red, you will get a email from the company telling you it's now time to buy your water filter, and they in fact will send it to you if in fact you're on their automatic shipment program. And so you will never ever be out of water, pure water, if you follow the guidelines that are set up. So that's how this works. The Amway product works exactly or almost exactly the same as I mentioned before. One of them has ultraviolet, and that is the Amway product. This has a little bit charcoal filtering in it, has a little bit other systems. So they kind of balance each other out in the tests. This one does the basic things better. Amway does some other things better. But as far as the tests are concerned, they're equal. So that's why I would only recommend the two. Again, if you cannot afford $1,000 for pure water for your family, yourself and your family, then I would go to MultiPure.com and see about a filter that you can afford. Now, I do have a chemist that assisted me in this study, which took from March of 2017 until the end of July of 2017. And he is available, and I will include his phone number at the end of this video, actually in the description on YouTube and on my blog, and you will be able to contact him if you wish. He is open to that, and he will help you in determining which water filtration system is best for you. So let's come to some conclusions. First of all, let's make a pact that we're never going to put pure water, water that's been filtered correctly, into plastic containers. That's a big no-no. You've taken something that's pure and adulterated it with petrochemicals. The other thing is, unless it's absolutely necessary, and recognize that sometimes it is, let's not buy water that's in plastic containers. Now for other sources, you might be thinking out of the box and say, but Ray, I can go to the water store or a water machine and buy water. And being innovative and taking into account what you've just said, I'm going to buy big glass jugs. Well, here's a problem. You might want to think about that. When was the last time that machine was serviced? You may not know that. What type of water comes out of that machine? In other words, what's the filtration process? Is it any better than your tap water? So, if you don't know, why take the chance? Take a chance only on something that you do know. put the odds in your favor. The same is true of the water store. What type of filtration do they use? Well, if they can satisfy you, and in fact they can give you water in big glass jugs, then you should have no problem with that as well as a secondary alternative. But my guess is that's not going to be economical as buying a filtration set for yourself. Now, I do have one more little presentation for you, and that is, understand that you can get cancer and other diseases not just by drinking water. Remember, you can get cancer in a number of ways. What goes into your eyes, what you breathe in, what you eat, what you come in contact with, what goes into your skin, what your skin absorbs. So there is something else to consider, and that is when you wash yourself, bathe, or take a shower, it's important that you also protect yourself against chemicals that might be in the water. And there's two ways to do that. One is to get a filter for your shower head. And what that is you take your shower head off, you put a filter, and then the whole thing goes on to the pipe that comes out of the wall. And that is much better than taking it unfiltered. And this is something a lot of people don't think about. The great thing about it is these filters cost much less. They're on the order of $35 to $50 for a good one. Why don't they cost more? Is because you're not drinking the water, and it had the filtration process doesn't have to be as intense as in something that you might drink. The other thing is that when you're bathing, believe it or not, water, especially when you immerse yourself, comes into your body, and it can more easily even get into your eyes, although it can get into your eyes in a shower as well. Well, we've been testing a water filtration ball that you actually put in the bathtub before you get in. And here's an interesting little demonstration. This was a pure white ball. And I'm not just talking about the plastic ball, but I'm talking about the filter. Now, we've been using this off and on, as you would in a bath, for the last 3 months. And I don't know if you can see it, but that is all turning orangish red color. Now, why would that be? Well, I asked this of my chemist that is working with me on this project, and he tested it, and in fact, it's from rust in the pipes that may or may not be in our house, in our slab, on the road, in the street, could be anywhere. Anywhere along the process of bringing water in, we unfortunately have a lot of pollution in our water. And what another thing is when you actually wave this in the water goes from white to blue. Now, this is an interesting point. Why would it do that? Well, when you look at a lake, it's not white, it's blue. The purest color that you can get is not white or clear. The reality is that it is chlorine and fluoride that make the water white. And by just moving this back and forth, it's recommended to do it for 8 minutes. I never do that, but yet look at what the filtration ball looks like. So the next time that you're taking a bath or a shower, think about getting a filter so that you can prevent cancer and other diseases from entering your body by either your eyes or through your skin pores. So I hope this has been beneficial for you. This is the most important topic that I can talk about relating to your body. The fact is, as I stated before, my best interest is you. I have no financial interest in any of the companies or products that I've mentioned. But what I want is just what is good for my listeners and for my people that subscribe to my YouTube channels and people that read my blogs. So please take that to heart, and I'll be seeing you down the road.